In the same year that The Terminator was released, predicting the end of the world via killer AI-controlled robots, another film came out that explored the more plausible and harrowing possibility of a nuclear bomb being dropped. That film was Threads, a film shot in just 17 days on a shoestring budget, as the director puts it, that aims to depict a realistic look at the fallout of a nuclear bomb being dropped on a British city, Sheffield to be specific. It follows the lives of everyday working people with jobs, families and homes before the unthinkable happens, and their lives and those around them are changed in unimaginable and horrifying ways. From the little I knew about this film going in, I was expecting it to be intense and harrowing. The brief retrospective 40 years later interview that played before the film with director Mick Jackson revealed the circumstances in which the film was made and the state of the world back in 1984. But I was not expecting to be so moved, affected and haunted by this film. Threads connect all of us, and the human experience is the same now as it was then. In the early 80s, there were very real-world tensions amidst the Cold War. Tensions were being ratcheted up between global superpowers, and there were talks almost daily about a nuclear option to put an end to the escalations. People were saying this act of violence would prevent further actions and ultimately save lives. It was fitting then that the BBC decided to commission an ultra-realistic docudrama film that would demonstrate the very real human cost of such an action on a British city. Sheffield was chosen for the film for the same reasons it may have been used for a real-world attack, namely its central location in the UK and its nearby airbase. The film's portrayal of this fictional but incredibly realistic scenario is chilling, especially when combined with a typical kitchen sink romance/drama plot. Threads begins by stating that all of us are connected, but no more so than in an urban city environment where lives are linked closer than ever. However, these connections also make us vulnerable. We follow a couple of young lovers in Sheffield, Ruth and Jimmy, as they find out they are pregnant. What follows is a drama between both sets of parents as they decide to keep the baby, get married, and find and create a home together. All the while, radio and television broadcasts warn of increasing tensions and escalations with Russia and the US as people go about their normal everyday lives. After a nuclear attack destroys a NATO base 20 miles from Sheffield, the city falls into chaos. Ruth and Jimmy are separated as the fallout spreads, and Ruth must struggle to survive alone in the post-apocalyptic landscape. It's refreshing to see a film that uses its limited resources to such great effect, especially in a modern era of mismanaged, overinflated budgets of which there is a severe lack of that spent money displayed on screen. Self-described by the director as a shoestring budget, the results are nevertheless impressive. Shots are carefully constructed to give you just enough for your brain to fill in the gaps. Costumes are provided by the extras themselves to add to authenticity and to save money, presumably, including the now infamous traffic warden, who was one in real life, an image that has now become synonymous with the grim and harsh depiction of reality in the film. The merging of drama and documentary styles is particularly effective. Cold, emotionless narration describes what will happen to this people as determined by science, location, and data. There's a sense that nothing can be done, it cannot be helped. A very deliberate choice by the director to have the fates of these characters entirely decided by their approximation to the blast and where they were caught up in its radius, as if he too was helpless. At no point are you thinking, this isn't real. In fact, the opposite is true. I had to keep reminding myself throughout that this wasn't real, and these characters you've come to know aren't real either. Such is the hopelessness of the situations they find themselves in, and the empathy you feel for them. You see a mother holding their child baby, parents searching for their child amongst the rubble, radiation sickness, burns, the complete and total collapse of society and services. The decision to keep the focus small and on specific characters keeps it squarely on the human impact, making it even more affecting. These images will absolutely stay with you, and in a more impactful way than the modern era of disaster movies, such as The Day After Tomorrow. The use of real broadcasts that would have been used during an actual attack in the 80s adds another layer of chilling realism. This includes a particularly memorable one which instructs people how to safely dispose of and discard a body should anyone die in your fallout shelter.
Label the body with name and address, and cover it as tightly as possible in polythene, paper, sheets or blankets.
Compared to other nuclear war films of the era, Threads stood out for its unflinching realism and focus on ordinary people rather than political or military figures. Its influence on British culture and policy discussions has been long-lasting, with many people still remembering watching it years later and citing its lasting impact on their worldview. Threads offers an unflinching portrayal of nuclear war's consequences, refusing to shy away from the grim realities of societal collapse and human suffering. It explores the breakdown of society and human nature in the face of unimaginable devastation. The film serves as a sharp criticism of government preparedness and public naivety regarding nuclear war. It starkly illustrates the futility of such a war and the fragility of civilization itself, showing how quickly our societal structures can crumble in the face of such catastrophe. Local government takeover is depicted with terrifying ineptness as officials desperately try to restore order where there is none to be found and undertake jobs for which they are underqualified, ill-prepared and unable to do. But then, how exactly do you prepare for such a situation? Who exactly would be qualified? All of this adds to the overall hopelessness and despair you feel throughout the film. You cannot help but imagine this as a real-world scenario, and it makes you feel very strongly that neither you or your loved ones would ever want to experience such a waking nightmare. Despite being 40 years old this year, Threads is as relevant now as it was when it was released. Its themes are universal, as its focus is on the human cost of such a scenario. It resonates strongly with current geopolitical tensions and renewed nuclear threats. It continues to serve as a powerful cautionary tale, reminding us of the devastating potential of nuclear weapons and the importance of preventing their use. Threads remains a masterpiece of despair, as relevant and impactful today as it was upon its release. Its unflinching devotion to realism and its focus on the human cost of nuclear war make it a uniquely powerful and haunting film experience. This film has only been broadcast a total of 4 times since 1984, yet many people can recall watching it as children and being haunted by it. As it is now available to stream on iPlayer in the UK for the first time ever, I would urge you to see it. It's not an easy watch, not at all, but I believe it's an important one. It will affect you. It should. It serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of nuclear war and the responsibility that comes with such power. It's a film that everyone should see at least once in their lives, and perhaps should be mandatory viewing for those in positions of power who may be part of the decision to push the button.
But if people were looting, it would be within my competence to instruct that they be executed.
Would you expect that kind of situation to arise?
It's quite possible. It's feasible.
Does having that kind of power, total power, worry you?
No.
Too often the human consequences of such actions aren't properly considered once people are turned into mere statistics. A protester in the film says, "You cannot win a nuclear war." I feel that has never been so viscerally demonstrated as in this film. If you've seen Threads, what was your experience watching it? I'd love to hear your stories and thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching. Do give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and please consider subscribing. I'm aiming to hit 100 subscribers before the end of the year, so just click that button below. You can always change your mind. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks again.